I think I've never tried so hard to give my money to somebody who I was almost sure was scamming me, but I just didn't care. So I told you a story a while ago about how I refuse to rent cars when I go to different places. It's more fun to buy them. So I was coming down to Atlanta for Radwood, and I was scouting around looking to buy a car. And I had looked at a couple Panos Roadsters, but couldn't make the deal on them. And I follow this Facebook group called Obscure Cars for Sale. And somebody posted a 190e 2.6 5-speed, supposedly a Euro model. I was like, ooh, that's kind of cool. Because I love old Mercedes. And it was $2,300. I was like, I think that's like a too good to be true deal. And of course, everybody's commenting going, oh man, if I only had the cash or this and that or whatever. I'm like, dude, you don't have $2,000 cash to go buy a car that's worth $5,000? Like, borrow it from your mom's, like something. So I followed up on it and sent the guy a message, and it was advertised in Facebook Marketplace. So I'm thinking, maybe the person's a little bit tech savvy. But I didn't really get any response. So I kept following up, and I'm like, hey, I want to buy your car. Please just contact me. And so he finally did. And what transpired was pretty odd. I think I've never tried so hard to give my money to somebody who I was almost sure was scamming me, but I just didn't care. And I'm actually going to try to recount the conversation, because there's no other way to describe it other than to just like show how the conversation went. And I looked up this guy's Facebook profile because I'm just like, who is this? And it was a redneck of all rednecks. Rabbit had some other choice words for him, but I didn't meet him, and he was very nice to me, so I'll just say what I saw. But he had like maybe 7 pictures, and it was, him and his family, a selfie with him, another selfie with him with his shirt off, and then a random picture with a 20-year-old Asian. I was like, is that his... Did he adopt her? Like, what? This picture makes no sense in just a redneck world in the middle of North Carolina, given the rest of his posts. I was thoroughly confused. And then intermixed with just random pictures, I think 7 over the course of 2 years, he also sporadically had just random political rants. I mean, you know who this guy voted for. He wanted to make America great again. But it didn't make sense at all that he would be selling a 2-tone beige Euro 190 5-speed. But of course he said, he bought it for his bride, his wife, and she refused to learn stick. So, me being a naive northerner, I figured, well, that means that she's 70 years old and you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And I'm like, you'd think you'd know your wife well enough by now that you'd know that she wouldn't want to drive stick, but I guess maybe 2 months is not a long time to get to know somebody, especially if they don't speak English. So, so here's how the conversation went. Could you send me the VIN? Clear title in hand? I'm a real buyer with cash, not a tire kicker. Feel free to call or text my number. No response. If the car is as good as you say it is, I will take it. Just want to confirm details and make sure it's legitimate. Thank you. This is his response. A couple days later, you need to check it out. The car speaks for itself and is a local car, no cancer. Okay, so I respond. I'm unable to get down to North Carolina to see it in person. Could you send me the VIN? No response. Would love to chat on the phone if you're able. I appreciate being able to speak directly with the owner. Later that afternoon. Hi, James. Are you able to call me today regarding the Benz? Thanks. A day later. Just checking in. Let me know if you want to sell the car. Still interested. Yes. So I respond, do you have a phone number that I can call you to chat about the car? Could you send me the VIN, please, so I can run a Carfax? A day later. Later that afternoon, he sends me his phone number. Amazing. So I try to call him. Nothing. 4 hours later, he sends me his phone number again. Then he sends me my phone number. And then thumbs down emoji. Then sends me my phone number again. Then finally, so then he resorted to text. So he went from messenger to text. And so he texted me the photos of the VIN and then messaged me again, said, did you receive? And he actually sent me pictures of the VIN tag. So I was like, oh my goodness, this car is real. Granted, this is like 5 days into it. So then he texts me 3 separate texts. No accidents. No accidents? So then I text him back, Carfax is clean, no accidents. He finally sends me a picture of the title. And I think we had to resort to text at that point. And this is when I called in my trusty steed, Rabbit, to go get the car for me. And I realized that this guy probably had absolutely no clue what a wire transfer was or how to receive it. So I got Rob's wiring information and just sent him the money. I'm like, hey man, can you just take cash up there and just do it the old school way? And really, I just determined that I had to send a redneck to close a deal with a redneck. But the funny thing is, like looking at this guy's profile of him and the trailer park and, you know, the young Asian girlfriend and no shirt and gold chain, you know, Rabbit likes to make fun of him, but really, I think it was just a precursor of what Rabbit's going to be like in 30 years. And this guy couldn't even get Rob's name right. He sends me a text after this is all done. He goes, you're certainly welcome. Just have Larry to send my tag back to me because I need it for my wife's car. I'm going to pick her up another one. It's a 190E automatic, one owner. So I guess his wife really wanted a Mercedes, but not a stick shift. So with all that said, I finally got the car back. Rob took it to his shop, and then I had to get it shipped down to Ed's warehouse so that I could pick it up for Radwood and we could roll out in style. And of course, that became a whole nother nightmare because I had to deal with bottom of the barrel transport drivers because I just wanted it done on the cheap. And I think the first guy just totally didn't show up at all. He said he'd pick it up Tuesday, and Thursday came around and nothing, and he made every excuse in the book, and so I canceled it. And I think it took me 2 more guys before I finally got somebody that actually did the simple thing of just picking it up when they said they'd pick it up and dropping it off. And it made it to Ed's. And of course, Rob said that the motor mounts were shot. Ed gets in it and he picks us up at the airport and he goes, these are the worst transmission mounts I've ever driven in. And we finally had a tech look at it, and it was the drive shaft bushing was bad. So don't ever listen to non-mechanics friends' advice about what's wrong with your car. And the funny thing is I asked James, you know, hey, will this car make it back to Atlanta? And of course, anytime you ask a seller that, you're really just asking for them to lie to you. Because of course they're going to say, he goes, oh yeah, I drive it to California tomorrow, no problem. It's like, yeah, not with that drive shaft pushing the way it is. So it did make it back to Atlanta. Granted, half of the trip was on a transport truck, and we did drive it around quite a bit during our time here, and made it to Radwood in style. And I did end up shipping it back to Ohio. I was thinking about driving it back, but I really didn't want to have capital A adventure on the way home with a Mercedes breaking down. So we shipped it back, got a cheap flight home, and it is now in the fleet as Ultra Beige 2.0 next to the Monte Carlo, which is Ultra Beige 1.
VINwiki is proud to be partnering with mobile app Hero to continue changing the way we look at documenting automotive history. We're working with them to bring updates to our mobile and web-based app, so stay tuned to their social media and ours and keep telling the stories of all the cars you love.